Welcome back into OneSoccer today. We're very excited. The Canadian Premier League kicks off June 26. As we know, they're going to have a bubble version first in Winnipeg, and then hopefully they'll be able to play in their own market. So let's take a look at a couple teams, right? So Pacific FC, last year at the Island Games, they made the Final Four. FC Edmonton, very disappointing, gentlemen, not one win, which prompted longtime coach Jeff Paulus to step down. Alan Koch, the new head coach, heading into this CPL season. Gareth, I'll begin with you, and let's begin with Pacific. We love this question, right? Pacific, are they contenders or pretenders?
I love CPL season previews. It's that time of year, and Pacific is a contender. Absolutely, they were in the Final Four at the Island Games last season, and with good reason. I think they might have the best right-hand side of any team in this league with Chung and Bustos. They have solid players in the middle of the park. Dixon, a true leader that they brought in. Can't wait to see him over a season. They bring in Manny Aparicio, another potential difference maker in the team. Ollie Bassett should be quality as well. And Diaz, Campbell. I mean, they have good players up top. And a real likable head coach who made an impression last year. I just think that they're ready to take that next step, and it's on the coaching staff and the players to bring out the best from this group. I absolutely think that the standard, the expectation should be is this group is contending this season.
I agree. I think they're contenders, and I'm excited to see what Pamadou Carr can do with this group over a full season. I think one thing you've got to take into account with Pacific is that even though a lot of these guys have been in the league for, and they're coming into their third year now, they're still young. And I think there's a lot of room for internal improvement in this group. We saw it last year with Baldissimo, with Caden Chung, players who took real big steps forward and became undisputed starters in a way that they maybe weren't in 2019. They do have, on my list of contenders, they do have the biggest question mark, I think, which is the back line. I thought they needed to add a quality defender at the start of the offseason. I think they were trying to get Adam Straith, and unfortunately that didn't work out or hasn't yet. And then they went on and lost Marcel de Jong, who's obviously chosen to retire. So defensively, I think they're a little unproven. They're going to need Thomas Meyer-Giguère to really step up. But undoubtedly, when you look at the talent of the midfield, you look at Bustos, they're a contender.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about one of their new additions as well, because who would you say, Ollie, is under the most pressure this season with Pacific FC? Would it be Marco Bustos to match what he did with the Island Games, or newcomer Manny Aparicio?
Well, Aparicio is going to be really important. I think he is, one piece that they were really missing, which is that midfield playmaker, someone who can really create for the front three. He should fit that role perfectly, and he's going to be important. But I have to go with Bustos. Bustos has to be the best player in the league. I think that's the job description for him. He's that good. He's that important to this team. And they rely on him to that extent if they are going to win this trophy. He has to be above and beyond anyone else in the Canadian Premier League. I think on a personal level for him, he's one of those players that you look at, and it is a big year at the age he's at. He wants to be playing for the national team. He wants to go on to another level sooner rather than later. So for me, from a team perspective, from an individual perspective, it's Bustos, and he has the ability to be the MVP this year. All
right. What about one low-key player? How about this? Is this our dark horse, maybe someone who can fly under the radar? Who are you looking at for Pacific FC this season, Gareth?
Well, I'm picking a player who does fly under the radar, but I'm not quite sure why. Perhaps because his name isn't Dominic Zator or Amir Didic or Daniel Kurtzen or Peter Chalet, but that's Thomas Meyer-Giguère. He played every minute of the Island Games, was second in intercepting the ball, and he's a very good distributor. He should have been the captain of the under-23 Canadian side, which attempted to qualify for the World Cup, had to leave there because he had a knee injury. There was disappointment because Mauro Biello wanted him to be a focal point in the team. This is a very good player. He played for Canada under 20 12 times. He is just 23 years of age, but he has over 100 appearances, professional appearances. I mean, this player should be that next level center back here in the Canadian Premier League. And this season, like Ollie said, for Pacific to maintain that high standard, he has to be that good. And I really think he can be. He's a top player in this league. And I think that this season, more people around the league that watch the game will come to know that name a lot better.
All right, so that's Pacific FC. Let's turn our attention now to FC Edmonton. And Ollie, I begin with the exact same question. Pretender or contender?
Pretender for now, I think. I think a good year for FC Edmonton this year, coming off a last place finish with a new coach, is to see real signs of progress and a team that can maybe start to compete in 2022. I think there's just too many question marks right now on the roster. I look at the midfield in particular and how that's going to shake out. You know, Emir Didic, can he stay healthy? That hasn't happened in the first 2 seasons so far. Too many question marks for me to call them a contender. But I like what Alan Koch has started to build there. I really like the potential of a spine of Didic, Shome and Ongaro. I think that could be something going forward over the next 2 or 3 years. It's just going to take too much, I think, in one season for them to really turn it around from last place to being in contention for a championship.
Yeah, you need to learn how to walk before you learn how to run. Like, just being competitive this season is the goal. And I do like what FC Edmonton's done this offseason. I think they'll be improved. They brought in some experienced players to go along with some highly touted draft picks as well. So I think you need that balance. And I think that Koch and company have kind of struck that balance. A lot of things need to go their way. I think they're going to be better than they were, but it's going to take some steps in order for them to reach the heights of the Forges and the Cavalries and the Pacifics of the Canadian Premier League.
Let's give our opinion then on who we feel will be under the most pressure when it comes to FC Edmonton. Are you looking at Shamit Shome or are you looking at Emir Didic, Gareth?
Emir Didic needs to stay healthy. 26 now. If he has ambitions of getting back to the MLS or moving on somewhere down the road, the time is now. He's still in the Canada mix as well and probably will be for a potential Gold Cup look. He has 2 caps for country. Remember, this player was called up and was on the bench for Canada USA in 2019. His island games were wasted because he was injured. And for this team to go on and accomplish whatever their goals are this season, they need their best player on the field, and that is Emir Didic.
All right, Ollie, the last word on FC Edmonton goes to you on the Lowkey Player you're going to be watching.
Yeah, I picked a player that sounds weird when you say it in a British accent, which is Chance Carter. I think he is a very talented young midfielder. Edmonton native, obviously. He was in the Whitecaps Academy. He decided to come back and play for FC Edmonton's first team, and I really like this kid. He only had 1 start at the Island Games, but he really impressed me in that start. Just a central midfield player with great athleticism, great ability on the ball, left-footed, so he gives them some balance and opens the field up. Even before they'd appointed a head coach, he was the first player they re-signed this season, and I think there's a reason for that. I think he's really highly rated within the club, and I'm excited to see him hopefully take on more of a prominent role this season, because I think he has the ability.
It sounds lovely. Chance instead of chance. I mean, you say Andy instead of Andy. I appreciate it, Ollie. We appreciate it here when you make our names sound fancy. June 26th, it kicks off doubleheader. Edmonton, Ottawa, Pacific, Halifax. And then on Sunday, you have the winners, the defending champs, Forge taking on Valor, followed by Cavalry, York United. And CPL, you know, OneSoccer is the home of the Canadian Premier League.